Good morning, friends. I just want to introduce first what is Quant. It's a relatively young firm. 6 years back we started, and we do a lot of boutique sort of work, but everything revolves around research. Okay. Now, in India, when we talk about research, the first mindset is the cost center. Okay. So we like to do our own businesses. Business research is always considered a massive cost center, but our philosophy is very different. We are building business around research. Okay. When we talk about research, prima facie research ideas is about fundamental research, or somebody do more for technical research, or some sort of quantitative models a lot of people started talking about. What we do and unique about quant is that we combine all types of research and we look at global asset allocations. If you look at how we identify sectors or trend, first we obviously get into a quant model, get a sectors right, then we overlay of fundamentals on it, and then from a market timing perspective, we have a behavior analysis. And this is one of the key reasons we have been relatively more successful in spotting the market trends right on global asset allocation. Research is obviously something is very close to my heart. So we just want to talk about, and briefly I'll showcase our capability, what we do, how it helps from market timing perspective, and why we believe this combination approach is most useful for us. As a vision, we want to create an like asset allocator model sort of thing. And this is something which is very important from a family office perspective, because in India, either people are very, very centric on this equity side or the gold or the commodities side, or maybe some most like north in the real estate side. I think asset allocation is something important. I think throughout the session we're going to talk about. Our focus as a firm is to evolve as an asset allocator model. This is something which we are building. We do all sort of activities on the advisory side, right from pre-trade to post-trade, the business we are building. So focus revolves on the research, whether you talk about advisory model, investment banking team, or the institutional broking which we do. Our focus is ultra HNI and wholesale segment. That is something where we focus on. And wealth is also relatively young business, but we have done very well for last 2 years. We are advisor on the close to more than 2,000 odd crores right now. Okay. I'll straight away come to the research part, and that's what's the view on the market. And we all are seeing the witnessing a major bull run which is unfolding. But you look at this background, people are very, very skeptical about this bull run. I'll like to showcase how we have spotted this, some of the important trends. We have been showcasing this presentation. If you notice, it is talked about August 2012. We have been showcasing this presentation to our clients from August 2012 to August 2017. That's sort of massive bull run which you're looking at globally. Okay, it's not something we have started talking now about it. I like to, in fact, it's the aggressive call which we have made from our side, talking about biggest and last bull run in my life. That's the way we have been showcasing. So presentation is relatively old, slides are updated, so you get a sense in terms of what we do. This is a ranking which we got more largely on the research perspective in the Asia Money poll in 2011. When we talk about sentiments, okay, you can only feel it. Can you quantify that? Can you measure these things? Okay, we are trying to demonstrate some of these parameters, which is our proprietary knowledge on Indian equity markets right now. Look at the market. Market in last 21 months has given more than 50% return. I'm talking about large indices, not individual stocks, which is a massive return which you have already seen. Look at some of the data points which I want to showcase. We have something called Quant Leverage Euphoria Index. Okay. Now this euphoria, we are trying to measure euphoria in terms of data points, and it's very interesting to see that we have a history now close to 11 years, from 2003 to 2014, as this is updated as of yesterday also. Can you address this? Because background is actually black. Can you switch off this slide? Can we switch off this slide? It might be more visible. Is better now? Okay, good. Somebody's there. Perfect. Sorry, the background we work slightly on like a Bloomberg screen sort of thing, so it's black, okay? I just give you perspective. This red and blue color line is Nifty. You can switch it off. I don't need it, okay? The red and blue color line is Nifty, and this is there from 2003, updated till yesterday. And this black color line, the white color line is Euphoria, okay? I just want to showcase, let's say, in last 10 years, we have three big euphoric move we have seen, May 04, May 06, January 08, okay? And recent, which is going on. So you look at May 2004 Euphoria out here. There's a massive line which is showcasing there was a Euphoria. Then you look at '06 Euphoria out here. This is 2008, January 2008 Euphoria. Is that visible to you guys? Okay. And then we have November 2010. This sort of Euphoria happened, and then we have seen a big correction happening. Okay. Look at market has moved up 50%. Okay. There is no Euphoria. Okay. People are still pessimist about this whole move. Okay. So like people are slightly worried after 50% whether it's advisable to enter these markets or not. So I just want to showcase some of the stuff which we do. There is hardly any euphoria. This is on a time span of more than 10 years if you look at, but if I have to showcase, let's say only 1 year, okay, this is just data, I just take only 1 year's data, then you can see some amount of euphoria happening. But if you look at the 10 years data, this euphoria is hardly anything. But from a very short-term perspective, yes, there is a trading top is in place from a short-term perspective. What we are looking at after a massive move, maybe this quarter 3 in our report, we have talked about correction and consolidation can happen in global equities also, as well equities. Our focus right now is on Indian equities. So you get a sense how there is a trading top sort of thing is made out here. But if I go back to the same slide, and if you look at this euphoria, which is trying to showcase out here, is insignificant as compared to historical data of 10 years. But if you look at an isolation of 1 year, yes, definitely there is some amount of euphoria happening in certain pockets. The way we look at this is for the whole leverage market as a whole, all stocks put together. And if I have to look at pure Nifty, this is something which is there in last 1 year, pure Nifty also. I also want to compare the current scenario, what happened in November 2010 when market peaked out. Okay, there was a big correction in emerging market. This was the euphoria happened in November 2010. And as compared to this, what we are seeing right now is again insignificant. Similarly, I also talk about some of the more behavior characteristic. This cursor jumps just 1 minute. It's all Indian equities, cash market as in derivative markets, all put together. No, everything, trades, volume, and we obviously create our own proprietary knowledge on that. It's largely price, volume, derivatives, second derivatives on it. So it includes trades data also. But it's a combination, it's not an isolation of cash only or derivatives alone. Okay. Okay. So one more data points which we call call concentration index. Okay. What it reflects whether people have really built position or not. Okay. So it's nothing to do with the put call ratio. If somebody is looking from that perspective, it is not. Okay. And again, just want to showcase, look at 04 move, the call concentration was high, market peaked out. Again, you look at 06, call concentration was extremely high, again market peaked out. Same thing happened in January 2008. And if you out here look at, this was the May 09 election outcome, and there was a euphoria. Again, there was an event driven. Okay. And then you look at, this is November 2010, and you look at where we stand now. Despite 50% move, it is marginally moved up. Okay. What it reflects that participation level is extremely low. Despite sudden volumes have moved up, retail participation started happening. But if you look at from a historical data perspective, this participation is insignificant. Okay. Currently, it's reflection of that equity markets or people are holding equities in a very minimum way, grossly under own market. Okay. So we are trying to showcase some of the data which reflects about that. Something interesting we want to talk about, even you look at the put concentration. Okay. This is something which reflects about the bearishness in the market. Okay. Let's talk about This rally actually started from June 2003, which is going on. If you look at June 2003, the background is out here. The put concentration was so high, people were so bearish, and then you see a massive move started. And exactly look at the top of the cycle, January 2008, the put concentration was the lowest point. Okay, and then obviously as a firm we were not there, but if you we set up our firm in 2008. This rally which we have seen again in March 09, we made this call in the market, March 09, the global dynamics have changed, and we talked about massive bull run. Okay, why we made this August 2012 call, 2012 onwards, this is a massive rally. We were here when we made this call in August 2000. So put concentration was again hovering around upper band. Now, theoretically speaking, there is no band as such. Okay, if there is a crisis, it can move up further. But since we look at the behavior data, it gives you a fairly good sense what happened in last 10 years. Okay, so if you look at out here, we were here when August 2012 we made that call. Until then, it's moved up one way. In fact, there's a very interesting data out here. I just want to showcase what happened in, let's understand 08 for 2 minutes. So you'll get a sense. This was the top of the January fall happened around 22nd January 2008. The first fall happened, and you look at the put concentration spiked. This was the July fall which happened, again put concentration spike. This was the Lehman fall. Nobody got a chance. Okay, so it was just there. Now, after that is more important. Somewhere if you look at this phase out here, this is January 2009 to March 2009. Market has actually moved up by 6%, but in this phase, you look at the put concentration was one-way rising. It means the people were so bearish on the market, they were buying protection. Okay, and this is reflected out here, the behavior aspect, the bearishness which was prevailing at that stage. And then you look at this massive move happen. Something similar happened in right from August 2012. Despite put concentration was the highest level, and look at market moved up and put concentration moved up further. So market was rallying on the background that people are very skeptical about it. And that's one of the most powerful move which we have seen. Similarly, I just want to showcase one more data points. Okay, when we talk about capitulation happening, when people tend to surrender their position. Some of the data point I'm showcasing today, look at this November 2008 bottom. This is one of the last 10 years data is there. This is the highest level of capitulation ever seen in the Indian historic market. So this was the classic bottom which happened in November 3rd, November 2008. Something similar happened on the global markets also. If I have to measure some of these things, people talk about short buildup is rising, long buildup is rising. For every long, there is a short position. Okay, exchange only give you a data about participant data, how much is retail participation, what is prop, or up to certain extent you can get breakup of institutional participant, but you will never get handle of a situation. Can you quantify how much is long and how much is short? Okay, from a purely Indian market, if I look at and if I look at the global data also, anytime option writers are there, so 40% positions are largely hedged. This ratio varies from 30 to 50% depending on market to market, but if you take average 40% positions are hedged, okay? Then also you cannot figure out whether people are extraordinary shorts are getting built or longs are building. This data points we are trying to showcase, we have ability to quantify shorts and long positions in the market at any given point, okay? And this is again updated as of yesterday. You can get a sense whenever market has made a classic bottom. So this was 04 major correction happened, and look at moved happened. And this was exactly on 3rd November, this sort of spikiness you have seen. One of the extraordinary shorts was created in the equities market. This is all leverage market put together we are looking at, we are not looking at. And then you look at various other points. Whenever short had spiked, it leads to a buying opportunity. One more data points I would like to show you. Okay. Something similarly, I have just shown you about overall leverage market euphoria index. Let's talk about banking index as of today. We were very early in making a call in May 2013 when banking index was making a new high. And you look at, none of the fundamental analysts could have predicted this move. This is May 2013 banking euphoria index. Okay. This peaked out, and then you see after that what was a big collapse. And you look at one more data points. We also in August, September, when there was a capitulation happening in banking Nifty, and then you saw massive move happening. Okay, so we able to spot the top of the banking index, and we able to spot the bottom of the banking index, and also show you where we stand today also on the banking index. Okay, So come back to euphoria index. There is hardly any euphoria despite banking index is on a higher end. Okay. Small euphoria, which means small short-term correction can happen, but something like this we have still not reached. Okay. Which means banking index has still long-term potential when I'm talking about from few years perspective. One more data points I like to talk about is everybody understand about the breadth parameters, okay, largely advancing volume or declining volume difference people take it or some other forms you look at. We have worked out our own structure on the breadth. So if I am talking about, let's say, MSCI World, okay, maybe right example, talk about 1710 odd stocks are there on the MSCI World, okay. Now, if you have to look at the MSCI World as an index, lot of technical analysis give you a perspective on the trend line basis, which you get a sense and some sense on momentum. What we try to analyze, we try to analyze the breadth of those index. It's not pure advancing declining differential which you are looking at. We work on this data on buying pressure and selling pressure differential. So we quantify whether how many sectors stocks have a buying pressure in our own way, and this is a differential we look at. And it's a very interesting data points if you look at out here. This also gives you able to spot some amount of tops and bottom in the market. If you look at this is upper band out here, okay, so it's May 04 or Jan 08 time. And again we hit there last week, okay. We were again there at upper end, okay. Now, if I have to look at this data point in isolation with this particular model, then we say, oh, market has topped out, okay. But when we look at the combination, okay, today I'm showcasing only equities. When we look at different asset class, currencies, commodity, and our risk indices, then picture is very different. Since we have very limited time, I'm just talking about purely equity as of today. So if you look at out here, this is all NSE stocks put together, what 1100, 1200 odd stock which is there on the NSE. All stocks put together, we have seen a breadth index. This is known as Quant Composite Sustenance Index, okay, has hit upper band. And this is one of the reason we have been, for last 1 week, we have talking in our report that we have seen a trading top, we have seen a consolidation and a corrective phase emerging in market for next Q3 quarter perspective, and again up move will start. So this, what is more important out here is the equilibrium line. The zero is the equilibrium line. Basically, it reflects that buying pressure is higher than out in zone. If it decisively break below the equilibrium, then selling pressure will increase, which we don't visualize from other data points, either from a capitulation or euphoric or many indices which we have. We're just showcasing few of them. If you look at slightly expanded sort of thing, will give you much more picture. You know, this is from a short-term perspective. Up to what extent we have seen a euphoria from a short-term perspective. Then if you combine with simple data points, okay, how the equity market as overall leverage position has been built. This is in terms of number of shares. So we are closer to the upper band. What happened in 08, then what happened in November 2010, and something similar is again there, okay. Now, this data points can only give you some sense the participation level has increased definitely. So from a trading perspective, you can see some amount of halt out here, but nothing dramatic can happen. Okay. So obviously we do a lot of comprehensive work on global equity, something similar I've shown you on India, something similar we do for all global markets. We do on currencies, we do on commodities, okay. So similar parameters we track, okay. Our biggest investment in our firm is on technology sides, okay. So everything has been done in-house. This is something which we are very confident has been working well, and we will be soon launching our products based on some of this knowledge. And I think our wealth team willing to help you. If anybody has any questions on this thing, more than happy to answer that. Okay. Okay. So typically, if you look at pure Indian market, whenever euphoria index peaks out, okay, and it comes to the minimum 18 months and maximum 34 months. Okay, so if something has just started, it will last for long. So like right from August 2000, I was expecting another 18 months. So first target we talked about August 2012 to August 2015. Okay, but this year January and August 2014, again we revised it 2017 because it's not coming up. It's actually was holding up in the upper end. Okay, now we don't work on exact, because see, this is not we are not very good in telling you forecasting the timelines. What we are good in getting the inflection points right. When we see these inflection points and as a combination, okay, today I'm showcasing only equity, when we see as a combination, which including our risk parameter, when all together, put together, we see, then we take a call.
There is a trend where the market peaked in 92, 2000, 92, 2000,
yeah.
2008.
Yeah.
You are saying August 2017, there is 2016 coming in between.
Yeah.
So do you see any relationship? Is there a 8-year cycle or not?
No, we understand that part. That's not based on that cycle which we have worked out. We work on global cycles. Okay, 8-year cycle, yes, is a very commonly tracked cycle. Okay, the only difference which I can sense right now is that what we have seen in 1992, in fact, that the Harshad phase, that was a euphoric phase. Okay, so I will not even call it euphoric. It was some sort of maniac was there. Okay, I see something similarly emerging somewhere in 2016, 17. As of now, it's very difficult to predict that, and we don't want to. Okay, whenever it happens, when we see our data points, that's a time which we look at. So these are broad timelines which you looking at, because let's talk about, we look at the cycles of the countries and economies, okay? So like Japanese market has a cycle of 25, 27 years, okay? 87 it peaked out. In fact, we made a very early call in Jan 2008 about yen peaking out 110. We have given a target of 67. 67 never happened, 72. But at 77, we again made a very aggressive call of 110, 120. This is like 2 years, August 2012. Nobody was talking about yen going back to 110. So if you really look at what drives equity market, is not equity market alone, okay? The biggest driver which we track globally is about the currency movement. Currency is the biggest market globally. Currency market give you first sense, okay? I'll give you a very small example. Because of this Modi-related hype which got created, and most of the eminent strategists have talked about rupee appreciating to 55. Somebody came out target of 35 also. Now we have one of the house which we have said earlier. In fact, we downgraded 59.5 or 69.5 earlier. We have that view that rupee will not depreciate, not appreciate up to that extent what people were talking about. Now this is call which is not in isolation with dollar rupee. It's a call on the dollar index. Okay, our view on dollar index is extremely high. We believe the dollar index can go up to 85, 87 by December or so. Okay, or maybe 93, 94 in 3 years' time. If the dollar index trend is so powerful, and this is based on the global data points which we are looking at, I don't think emerging market currency can appreciate up to that extent. There could be a phase. Like last year, we were very bearish on the currency. This year, we have talked about 58.5 to 62.5 as a full year range for the rupee, and rupee will be one of the most stable currency from the emerging market perspective. But given the background, the dollar is going to shoot up. Okay, and when we talked about yen going up to 120, 130 level possible, euro collapsing back below parity level in 3 years' time. With that background, I am not in that camp to believe that rupee will appreciate significantly. Okay, yes, rupee can be stable. The worst phase of rupees got over last year. But so if you look at pure in isolation, then you can look at some trends. But once you start factoring global markets, okay, how the ADXY or DXY will work and what is the logic behind that, every central bank is keen to depreciate their currency, including US. With that background, I don't think Rajan is a very smart guy. He's going to walk that path. Okay, so sometimes it's like consensus get built. At 69, everybody started talking about 76. Deutsche came out reported some absurd number of 82. Okay, so I think what we look at, for me, those are the behavior disturbing data points, and we try to capture in our some sort of sentiments data, and we try to form opinion on that. So that is not the only reason which we recommend on the behavior side, but behavior data is very important, and globally very limited firms are doing work on behavior analysis. Anybody else? Anything? Yeah.
Hello. What are your criteria for measuring euphoria? Exact criteria.
Okay. So criteria is actually we look at everything on the market data only. What is traded? Okay. So some of the other gentlemen also asked. So we look at both segment, cash and derivative put together. Okay. And based on that, we only evolve this whole thing. It's not something we are generating or any assumptions are part of it. There is no assumption in this model. This is actually traded volumes, traded delivery volumes, traded trades, traded walls. We dissect the whole options, okay, try to see the moneyness part of the options, where the activity is building it. Because options market give you a fairly good sense of informed buying and selling which is happening. In fact, globally, it's a very big business from a corporate action perspective. There are various firms, specialist firm in US, who will actually forecast there is a corporate action coming based on the data. Because ultimately, somebody is informed.
You're taking basically the open positions or more of volumes?
Everything put together. It's a very dynamic model. We factor actually 150 data points in that, okay, and it works on whatever is happening as of today. So there is no specific weightage given. It's a dynamic model. What if, let's say today, if I put a simple logic, if FI institution versus retail, some data goes into it. So whatever is the ratio, it changes every day. Sometimes it can be 60%, sometimes it can be 80%. So we are not taking average of 70% and working on it. What is the true number? So it's a dynamic way it works.
Sir, as you have the view on the dollar, where you are saying that it will be range-bound movement between 59.50 to 16.50. Similarly, do you have any view on the interest rate first? And second question was that how to make use of your this knowledge in terms of subscription like that?
Okay, so subscription, we can talk to our team. We do a lot of customized work. We are not in that retail segment of the market, okay? And frankly speaking, we don't showcase our work also. Just maybe few occasions we are talking about it. Coming back to, you talked about interest rates, okay? If you look at globally also, let's talk about US, okay? We think interest rate will gradually inch up. In fact, the 30 years bond futures rate in US is, as of yesterday, was 134, 35 levels. We think it can come down to 120. So our starting point is US, then German bonds, and then comes to Indian bond, because these are the, Germany is again the second largest market where volumes happen. So globally, if you're purely looking at Indian market, I think interest rates are heading southward, but it won't happen immediately. But trend is definitely interest rates have peaked out. So if I'm looking at purely from asset allocation perspective, definitely you have to increase your exposure towards equity and prune down fixed income markets significantly. I just shared that part, from next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, difficult to pinpoint exact timelines. Things are good. So buying on dip sort of strategy will work. And a lot of people are worried, okay, if stocks have moved 80%, 200%, whether one to participate. Our perspective is that one should look for very diversified portfolio. For last 3 years, we have been talking about a concentrated holding, largely IT, pharma, and FMCG. This is something we have said right from 2008. These are in bull run. We are not willing. We are not in that camp which talks about long cyclicals and short all these names. I don't think that strategy will also work. Our view is well-diversified strategy, and you should not be there just in the mid caps and the small caps. Maybe 30-40% weightage should be given to the large cap, because there are many stocks in the large cap who has also potential to become 100% return in next 2 years' time, 3 years' time. So I don't think one should ignore the quality names which exist. Okay, and in the bull run market, if obviously P multiple is expensive right now because earning momentum is yet to begin. Market is always 2 or 3 quarters ahead of those earnings momentum. So, and given the gross under ownership of exists in the equities, I think it's time to keep on building exposure from a slightly long-term perspective. I'm not talking about from a trading perspective, but slightly bigger picture. Thanks a lot.